Okay guys, so I'm back with a pretty solid track, which is surprising considering this amount of motion blur and everything. And yeah, let's create a new null object to keep the tracking data. So td gun01, and let's just take a brief look through the settings, okay? So first of all, we've got the general. The general settings are the most general settings that you can get. So you've got the color, set it to yellow, green, sorry, and it's going to have a green tint, obviously. We've got color randomizer, so on each frame this color may be randomized just a little bit, so it's getting this other tints right now. So this is it. What else? We've got a random seed. Every particle generator and basically every kind of a random numbers generator should have a seed parameter. What this is, it's basically taking some settings driven by the random values, and if you like the settings but you don't like the values that have been, randomized, you can just change the seed without changing other settings, and it will still behave the same, but the actual result will be different. Take a look how the Muzzle Flash changes when I change the random seed. It's still the same Muzzle Flash, but it looks a little bit differently, right? So that's it. And we've got the rate of fire, which goes from 1 to 100. This is basically a probability equation. If you've got set it to 100, then it means you've got a 100 to 100 chance that the Muzzle Flash is going to be visible. If you set it to 50, then it means you've got a 50% chance that the Muzzle Flash is going to be visible. So, and so on and so forth. I found that values around 30 or 30 and 50 work best, because you don't want to see a Muzzle Flash visible, like on every bullet that is being shot from the gun. So you want it to be randomized. So let's just see how it looks right now. And I think that we can randomize the seed. We can say that we want this to be random 2000 maybe, and this way it will be different on each frame. Let's just change it back to the original color, which was orangey or red, something like that. And let's go down to the second section. The second section is textures, and this is actually what makes our Muzzle Flash the way it looks. So we can get rid of all the textures. So right now we don't see anything, but we can import whatever textures we like. Let's take those 5, for example, and see what the result is going to be. Right? So we can basically create our own Muzzle Flashes and shape them the way we like. Okay, let's move forward. We've already talked about the rotation, transition, with the transform section. We've got position, scale, all the basic settings that you would expect to be here. So we can close this one. And those two are exactly what is the most interesting part for you. We've got core ejection, so this is this little muzzle in here, and we've got side ejections. So let's just turn off the side ejections and let's focus on the core ejection. Of course, we can set it to be rendered or not, and this is actually a very, very thoughtful feature. If you've watched muzzle flashes like in slow motion or something, you will notice that they appear a little bit far away from the barrel itself, and obviously our tracking point sits right in the middle of the barrel, so we want to move it away just slightly, and we can do it using this slider in here. So let's just move it away like 15 pixels or something. And the other settings are pretty obvious. We've got length and we've got height, and you can see how the randomized color takes effect, right? We've got all the different colors in here, and those two settings are actually what make it look like a muzzle flash. We've got tapering. So if you take a look, what happens when I change this parameter, it actually thickens the muzzle flash in specific areas. I think we want to do something like this, and of course we've got taper height, so you can create something like that. And there's also jitter and intensity. Jitter is basically spreading the particles that are made of these textures, it spreads the particles that create the muzzle itself. So if I pump it up really high, you're going to see a whole cloud of particles that make up the muzzle. And as you can see, we've got those different colors that we set it up in general section, color randomized. If I set it back to 0, we're going to have all the same colors in here. So let's leave it at 50 maybe. And of course, intensity. This is basically a something like opacity, or maybe it is opacity, in fact, hard to say. Okay, so once you know how the core ejection works, you will instantly know how the side ejection works. We've got only a few additional parameters to the side ejection. First of all, we've got the number of side ejections, and this number actually is taking a 360 degrees like circle, and when you put a 3 in it, it divides it into 3 sections, and you've got a side muzzle flash, a side ejection on those places. So we can set it to 5. This is actually something that we are used to see in action movies, I guess. And we've also got this barrel gap, so we can spread them out or make them really, really close. All the same parameters: length, height, taper, and all the things that you would expect, all the things from the core ejection as well. The additional parameter is also barrel rotation, so you can rotate it and even animate it to make the look a little bit different on each frame. And also we've got the barrel angle, which is obviously the angle at which the side ejections are positioned in relation to the core ejection. So that's actually pretty cool. We can set it up like that, or like that, whatever you like. And there's also a glow. And even though the glow is here, it doesn't actually do what I would expect it to do. As you can see, we've got this little highlight in here that looks like a circle, like a white semi-transparent circle. If I turn it off, you'll see what I mean exactly. And I would rather expect this glow to affect the footage around the muzzle. And I mean the footage pixels, because it obviously affects the footage by drawing a circle and blending it in the screen mode, as you can see in here, or add. But it still doesn't do the thing that I would expect it to do. It's gradient based, so we can set the color to whatever we like. We can create a gradient. This maybe saves this whole section of this plugin, that we can actually create a gradient to match it up with the footage a little bit better and make it bigger, and blend it in a different mode, set the brightness and stuff like that. But it still looks like a circle, so I don't really like it, and I feel a little bit disappointed. But still I really think it's the ability of moving this in 3D is really something cool. And of course, the render. We've got some final render settings. We can composite it on the original, or just have it on a transparent background like so. And we've got the blending modes, normal, add screen, pretty obvious stuff. And we've got the blur, of course, so we can blur it out just a little bit. The best part about MuzzlePlug is that it comes with a load of presets, loads and loads of presets. Only for CS3, unfortunately, so if you're a CS2 user, sorry guys. So basically, this is, if you're doing a lot of action footage, this is something that you should definitely try. I don't know if I already mentioned that, but I was actually inspired by this way of creating muzzle flashes, and back in the day when I was doing a lot of them, I created a method to create 3D muzzle flashes in After Effects. So let's just get right to it and build our own 3D muzzle flash generator.